Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The sun was setting over the military base, casting long shadows across the pristine asphalt. General Marcus Thompson, a decorated veteran and respected figure in the U.S. military, stepped out of his black car, the sure step and imposing stance of a man accustomed to commanding thousands of soldiers. His military uniform gleamed in the last rays of daylight, each badge and decoration a testament to decades of exemplary service. But that night, the power didn't rest on his shoulders. A city police officer, Anna Collins, young, arrogant, and famously authoritarian, was waiting for him in the parking lot. She had always seen the world as a hierarchy where her uniform was the law, and Marcus Thompson was just another citizen she could intimidate. "Sir, please follow me, you are under arrest." His sharp voice echoed in the cold evening air. Marcus looked at her incredulously. "Why, officer?" he asked calmly, his tone controlled but firm. "Violation of the security code and suspicious behavior," she replied, her gaze hard. "You have to come with me." Passers-by, some of them military personnel, watched the scene in astonishment. A general in uniform arrested by a municipal policewoman? It was inconceivable. Marcus took a deep breath, anger boiling beneath his discipline. He knew that a lapse in protocol or an impulsive move on his part could be used against him. But he had an advantage few could boast, the power of his rank and network. With a slow but determined gesture, he took out his secure phone. "Anna, you don't understand who you're dealing with." She raised her eyebrows defiantly. "I'm going to call the Pentagon," Marcus announced, his voice cold. "And trust me, they're going to want to speak to their general immediately." Collins paled slightly. For the first time since she'd donned her uniform, she felt genuine concern. The arrogance she'd always wielded like a shield had just met an impenetrable wall. A few minutes later, the phone rang in the military command office. At the Pentagon, the officers were surprised by the call, an Army general arrested by a local policewoman. The case was about to take a turn that no one, not even Marcus, could have anticipated. The setting sun cast golden hues across the parking lot of the secondary military base. Marcus Thompson, a decorated U.S. Army general, stepped out of his black car with the firm, commanding stance of a man who had commanded thousands of soldiers. Every medal and decoration on his uniform spoke of decades of service, sacrifice, and victory. But tonight, his authority seemed to have vanished. A city police officer, Anna Collins, was waiting in front of him. She had drawn features, hard eyes, and an arrogance that pierced the air. She lifted her notebook and stepped forward. "Mr. Thompson, please follow me." "You are under arrest," she announced in a tone that left no room for discussion. Marcus blinked in disbelief. "Why exactly, officer?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Anna crossed her arms. "Violation of security code and suspicious behavior. You must come with me immediately." Soldiers passing by stopped in shock. The arrest of a general by a simple municipal policewoman? The inconceivable had just happened. Marcus took a deep breath. He knew an impulsive move on his part could be used against him, but he wasn't one to be intimidated. His fingers brushed against his secure phone in his jacket pocket. "Anna, you don't realize who you're dealing with," he said, his voice cold. "I'm going to call the Pentagon. And believe me, they're going to want to speak to their general immediately." A slight tremor crossed Anna's gaze. For the first time since she'd donned her uniform, she felt genuine concern. The military passers-by watched silently, some pulling out their phones to record the scene. Marcus took out his phone. He quickly typed in a secure access code and pressed the direct communication button. "Pentagon office, this is General Marcus Thompson. I have just been unjustifiably arrested by a female city police officer." Anna instinctively recoiled when she realized the situation had just gotten out of hand. Marcus, imperturbable, observed the scene with the precision of a military strategist. Every move, every word was calculated. A few seconds later, the Pentagon officer's voice came through the receiver. "General Thompson, we're receiving your call. Confirm your location. Anna, pale, realized then that she was no longer in a position of strength. The arrogance that had driven her was crumbling under the weight of Marcus Thompson's real authority. And in that golden twilight, a black general had just shown, without lifting a finger, that dignity and power can surpass arrogance. Anna Collins tightened her grip on her notebook. Her usually confident face now betrayed a slight hesitation. She had arrested a decorated general, but this man didn't behave like the citizens she usually controlled. "Mr. Thompson, I repeat, you must follow me," she said in a firmer voice, as if to mask her concern. Marcus slowly looked up at her, his face impassive but every muscle tense. "Officer Collins, I respect your role, but you are sorely mistaken. I haven't broken any laws and I haven't put anyone in danger." Anna took a breath, trying to regain her authority. "You don't understand the gravity of the situation." Marcus took a step toward her, but still calmly and controlled. "I fully understand the seriousness of this. But you arrested a U.S. Army general without just cause. You're putting the chain of command and your career at risk." Military passers-by watched, some barely concealing their amusement. One young soldier murmured, "This is incredible. He remains calm, and she panics." Anna felt her anger rising. I'm just doing my job." Marcus tilted his head slightly, his gaze piercing. "Doing your job doesn't mean you have to think yourself above protocol. You've overstepped your bounds, Anna." A heavy silence fell. The general's words carried the weight of decades of command and experience. Anna felt the situation was completely out of her control. With a measured gesture, Marcus pulled out his secure phone again and dialed the Pentagon's direct number. The simple action made Anna pale. "Anna, you've just triggered an official call. The Pentagon will be informed immediately of this wrongful arrest." Anna took a step back. She realized, with a pang of panic, that she had entered a territory where her arrogance carried no weight. The phone rang at the Pentagon. Marcus spoke calmly, "This is General Marcus Thompson. I have just been unjustly arrested by a city police officer. I demand immediate clarification and unconditional release." Anna's face paled. For the first time, she felt the magnitude of the mistake she had just made. Every word Marcus spoke was a lesson in discipline and authority. A military officer behind Marcus whispered to his colleague, "He didn't even raise his voice, and yet it's shaking." Marcus watched Anna with cold calm, aware that the game had just turned. The confrontation had just begun, but the moral victory was already underway. Marcus's secure phone beeped softly as it connected directly to the Pentagon. Moments later, a deep, formal voice rang through his receiver. "General Thompson, Central Command Office. Please confirm your identity." Marcus replied calmly, each word carefully chosen. "This is General Marcus Thompson, service number 482-19-7. I'm in the parking lot of Fort Lincoln's secondary military base. I've just been unjustifiably arrested by a city police officer named Anna Collins." A silence fell. On the other end of the line, the officers were carefully taking notes. An arrest of this type was not only rare, but potentially explosive for the Army's image and local security. "Can you elaborate on the circumstances?" the voice asked. Marcus, still impassive, detailed every gesture, every word, every veiled threat of the policewoman. "She arrested me without just cause, in violation of all protocol. Several military witnesses are present, and I took care to document the incident." Behind him, Anna felt the weight of the situation. Her initial arrogance was turning into silent panic. She had underestimated not only the man she was arresting, but the institution he represented. "Very well, General. Remain calm and in place. An official detachment will be dispatched immediately to clarify the situation. Your release is ordered." Marcus nodded, even though Anna couldn't see him. He slowly put his phone away. His gaze fell on her, piercing, almost accusing. "Anna," he said in a low but firm voice, "I advise you to seriously consider the consequences of your actions. You are under official observation. Every word you utter from now on will be taken into account by your superiors. The policewoman, unable to respond, simply took a step back. The realization was brutal. She had just triggered a chain reaction that would far exceed her skills or authority. A few minutes later, uniformed military officers arrived in the parking lot, guarding Marcus with respect and vigilance. Anna tried to maintain her role of control, but she was now in hostile territory. The soldiers around her didn't even recognize her as an authority figure in front of a serving general. Marcus slowly turned his head toward the military witnesses. Remain calm, document everything. We will resolve this with dignity, but without compromise. And as twilight fell, Anna Collins's arrogance was exposed. For the first time, she understood that her position was no match for the experience, discipline, and composure of a U.S. Army general. Marcus Thompson remained motionless, his back straight, his hands behind his back. His calmness contrasted with the growing commotion around Anna Collins. Soldiers and officers in the parking lot approached, curious and concerned. Some whispered among themselves, others took out their phones to film the incident. A young lieutenant stepped forward timidly. "General, we can testify to what's going on. You're on duty, and this arrest is..." He hesitated, searching for the right word. "Unjustified." Marcus nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Document everything, take note of every word, every gesture. We'll handle this situation methodically." Anna, visibly irritated, crossed her arms. "You think you can dictate my behavior? I'm a police officer." Marcus tilted his head slightly, his sharp eyes fixed on the policewoman. "And I'm a general in the U.S. Army. Your position doesn't place you above the law or protocol." Behind him, other soldiers had gathered, forming a small, respectful but firm crowd. One of them whispered, "She's really going to regret this." Anna felt the tide turn. The soldiers, who had witnessed the arrest directly, were no longer obeying her. Every word Marcus said seemed to reinforce their loyalty to him and diminish his own authority. "Officer Collins," Marcus said calmly but authoritatively, "you have the choice to cooperate and respect protocol, or further complicate your situation." Anna, her pride stung, opened her mouth to reply, but no words came out. She felt every soldier's gaze on her, judging her actions. Her dominant position crumbled under the silent weight of military discipline and the respect Marcus naturally inspired. A sergeant stepped forward and said to Anna in a neutral but firm voice, "My colleague, you should wait for official instructions before acting." The policewoman paled, realizing she no longer had any immediate support. Marcus, meanwhile, remained impassive, letting the situation unfold exactly as he had planned. His strategy was clear: patience, calm, and meticulous documentation. As the sun sank completely behind the hills, Anna Collins's arrogance was now isolated, and Marcus Thompson had just gained his first official allies, witnesses ready to protect his dignity and ensure justice. Within minutes of the soldiers' arrival, the excitement around Marcus Thompson and Anna Collins was only growing. A young soldier in civilian clothes, impressed by the general's calm and dignified manner, took out his phone to film the scene. Every word, every gesture of Anna Collins and Marcus was captured. "Look at this," he whispered to his colleague. "He remains impassive, and she's completely losing control." Within moments, the video spread throughout the base via internal messaging and military social media. The surprised faces of passing soldiers turned to expressions of fascination and outrage. The arrest of a general by a municipal policewoman, recorded live, had become an instant symbol of the abuse of authority. Anna, still trying to maintain her authority, felt the pressure mounting. The whispers around her turned into accusatory stares. The military colleagues she barely knew eyed her suspiciously. Marcus, meanwhile, remained calm, observing the crowd's silent reaction. Every second strengthened his control over the situation. He knew that the public image was now on his side. "General," said a lieutenant, pointing at his phone, "the video is already circulating throughout the base. Senior officers are aware." Marcus nodded. "Very well. continue documenting everything. No word, no gesture must be forgotten. We will let the situation resolve itself according to protocol and justice. Anna felt her ego crumble. Her superiors would see the scene, the record of her own arrogance and indiscipline she had just displayed. The mere fact that Marcus remained calm and dignified made her position even more fragile. Soon, senior officers called the base directly. Military command wanted an accurate account of events and witnesses. Marcus responded with precision and composure, every word emphasizing his professionalism and every mistake on Anna Collins's part. The policewoman, aware that she was now exposed to severe official scrutiny and media coverage of her behavior, began to lose her confidence. For the first time, the arrogance that had guided her faded before the authority and control of a black American general. And as the sun sank below the horizon, the situation was no longer in her control. Marcus Thompson, calm, precise, and strategic, had transformed an unjustified arrest into a public lesson in dignity and respect. Anna Collins was breathing heavily. The whispers around her had turned into silent judgments, and the video circulating around the base amplified every misstep. Her initial arrogance had given way to palpable anxiety. Every military gaze on her seemed to weigh a ton. "General. I was just enforcing protocol," she stammered, trying to regain control. Marcus Thompson stared at her calmly, his gaze piercing. "Anna, you are free to justify your actions. But justifying does not mean excusing. Arresting a decorated general without proof or reason is a direct violation of all military and civilian protocol." She clenched her fists. "But you can't tell me what to do." A sergeant behind Marcus intervened. "Officer, stop arguing with the facts. Everything is documented and will be reviewed by your superiors." Anna felt the weight of witnesses around her. The soldiers and officers, silent at first, now spoke, each adding their own observation. Marcus's words, calm and precise, transformed her justifications into proof of his arrogance and excess of power. Marcus took a deep breath, his deep, measured voice echoing in the cold air. "You made a mistake, Anna. A mistake you can no longer undo. But there's still time to cooperate and respect protocol." Anna took a step back. She knew she was now isolated. Her superiors would receive videos, testimonies, and detailed reports from soldiers and officers about her wrongful arrest. Her ego, once shielded by her local authority, was beginning to crack. A young officer whispered, "She doesn't know what she's gotten herself into." Marcus nodded slowly. "Exactly. And that's why we're going to let the facts speak for themselves." Tensions were running high. Anna finally realized that her position no longer had any real support. Internal media pressure, official documentation, and the strategic presence of Marcus's allies made any attempts at intimidation or justification futile. As night fell on the base, Anna Collins's arrogance turned to quiet fear. Marcus Thompson, calm and in control, had just demonstrated that dignity, discipline, and adherence to protocol were far more powerful weapons than mere ostentatious authority. The crackle of military radios echoed across the parking lot. Armored vehicles and senior officers quickly arrived. The order was clear: the situation had to be resolved immediately. The Pentagon had taken control, and Anna Collins was nothing more than a helpless spectator. Marcus stood motionless, his hands behind his back, his face impassive. Every step the officers took strengthened his position. Anna, for her part, felt panic setting in. Her municipal colleagues weren't there, and no official support would come to save her now. "General Thompson," one of the senior officers announced as he approached, "we have been informed of your arrest. Please follow us for clarification." Marcus nodded calmly. "Thank you, officer." His gaze turned to Anna. "Anna, your behavior will be reviewed by your superiors. Any unjustified action will result in consequences." Anna opened her mouth to retort, but no words came out. She knew her apologies wouldn't be enough to undo the disaster she had just caused. The officers surrounded Marcus to protect him, forming a discreet but firm cordon. The soldiers in the parking lot watched silently, impressed by Marcus's handling of the situation. A lieutenant whispered to his colleague, "I've never seen anyone stay so calm under such pressure." Marcus, with calculated calm, followed the officers to the official vehicle. Anna, left alone, watched her own mistake turn into public humiliation. Every camera, every cell phone that filmed the incident documented her failure and Marcus's excellence. As the vehicle drove away, Marcus turned to Anna one last time. His words were cold, but they held the truth. Discipline and dignity are more powerful than arrogance. Never forget that. Anna stood there frozen, unable to respond. She had just learned the hard way that underestimating a Black American general could cost her far more than pride. Her career, her reputation, and her authority were now at stake. And as darkness enveloped the base, Marcus Thompson, in complete control of the situation, had transformed a personal affront into a dazzling display of power, strategy, and dignity. The next morning, in the military command briefing room, Anna Collins was called to account. The senior officers were present, and Marcus Thompson stood calmly in the center of the room, observing the policewoman with a mixture of patience and gravity. Anna, who had until then believed that her local authority would protect her, felt the crushing weight of the military institution. Every glance fixed on her seemed to weigh tons. An officer spoke in a stern voice, "Officer Collins, we have reviewed yesterday's incident. Your arrest of General Thompson constitutes a serious violation of protocol and professional ethics." Anna tried to protest, but "I was just doing my duty." Marcus intervened calmly, his voice measured but firm. "Officer Collins, doing your duty includes respecting protocol, hierarchy, and human dignity. You have failed on every count." The general's words echoed through the room like a solemn lesson. Anna felt guilt and shame wash over her. She had thought she could intimidate a decorated general, but her arrogance had been exposed before her superiors and witnesses. "You must understand," Marcus continued, "that an error in judgment can be costly, not only to yourself, but to the trust the institution places in you. Discipline and respect are not optional." A heavy silence fell. Anna looked down, unable to meet the general's gaze. For the first time, she understood that this wasn't just about her career or her ego. She had just confronted someone whose dignity and composure far surpassed any attempts at intimidation. Senior officers took note of her reactions and decided on appropriate sanctions, a severe warning and re-education on protocol. Anna's once solid reputation was beginning to crack. Marcus, unperturbed, turned to the room and concluded, "True authority is not measured by arrogance or brute force, but by the ability to remain in control of oneself and respect others, even in moments of tension." Anna, humiliated but aware of her lesson, left the room, her shoulders slumped. Marcus remained standing, embodying the discipline, grandeur, and respect that his rank and experience conferred on him. Through this confrontation, a universal truth emerged: dignity and composure are the most powerful weapons against arrogance. The next day, Marcus Thompson returned to his home base, accompanied by his senior officers and surrounded by an official military detachment. Calm finally reigned, but every step, every glance testified to the respect and admiration his soldiers had for him. The previous day's murmurs had given way to a silence filled with gratitude. Every soldier knew that their general had faced a situation of rare gravity with composure and control. The video of the arrest had circulated within the base and reinforced his moral authority. "General," a young lieutenant said, smiling, "you handled this like no one else could have." Marcus nodded, a small smile on his lips. "Thank you, Lieutenant. But remember, it's respect for protocol and discipline that keeps us united and strong, not fear or arrogance." Meanwhile, Anna Collins sat isolated in an administrative office, facing the official repercussions of her actions. Her ego had been shattered, and every interaction with her superiors reminded her of the lesson in humility Marcus had taught her. Back among his men, Marcus took a moment to address them. "Yesterday, we all witnessed what it means to remain composed in situations where pressure and injustice seem all-powerful. Keep that in mind. True strength lies in discipline, respect, and dignity." The soldiers nodded, inspired. The lesson was not just for Anna Collins, but for everyone who served under her command. Marcus had just transformed a humiliating confrontation into a shining display of leadership and integrity. As the base returned to its routine, a sense of calm and deep respect settled in. The incident with Anna Collins would be remembered as an example of courage, composure, and the moral superiority of a Black American general in the face of arrogance. Peace had returned, but the lesson remained: in the military as in life, dignity and self-control are more powerful weapons than fear or pretension. A few days later, the military base was quiet, but the incident of Marcus Thompson's wrongful arrest continued to resonate through the corridors. Word had spread among officers and soldiers: a Black American general had confronted the arrogance of a local policewoman with composure and discipline, transforming a potentially humiliating situation into a shining example of leadership. Anna Collins, meanwhile, had been reassigned to administrative duties. Her superiors had documented her behavior and taken disciplinary action. The reputation she had built with arrogance was rapidly crumbling, while Marcus's dignity and composure had become legendary. In the base courtyard, Marcus addressed the assembled soldiers and officers. Yesterday we witnessed the power of dignity and discipline. What some consider weakness, remaining calm in the face of injustice, is actually an immense strength. The soldiers listened, captivated. Each understood that true leadership lay not in anger or domination, but in self-control and respect for others, regardless of the circumstances. A young soldier whispered to his neighbor, "It's incredible." He could have exploded, but he remained in control of himself. Marcus smiled slightly. Correct. True victory lies not in humiliating an opponent, but in maintaining one's own dignity, even when everything seems to be going against you. Anna Collins's arrogance had been met with the quiet power of an experienced general. Lesson after lesson, she had been overcome, not by brute force, but by mastery, courage, and morality. At the grassroots, and soon beyond, Marcus Thompson became a symbol, one of dignity triumphing over arrogance, of composure surpassing haste, and of respect surpassing intimidation. And in the respectful silence of the military courtyard, every soldier knew that he had just witnessed something exceptional. A Black American general had just shown that true strength lies in integrity and self-control. The victory was not just personal, it was universal. Dignity had triumphed, and no act of arrogance could ever erase that lesson.